LaMeel Radio. Empowerment radio for women, by women. You're listening to Kimsey LaMeel on LaMeel Radio.
Hey everybody, this is LaMeel, the money goddess, your host. Welcome to LaMeel.com. This is episode 13, and tonight we are talking about energy vampires. And this episode is inspired by a new client. So a lot of you may know that I did a live version of Manifesting Your Home over on LaMeel.com, and it went really, really well. As a matter of fact, I may do a bonus episode tomorrow about the house that I manifested in the month of November. However, we're doing another live version this month in December. So I decided to make my live version, the very first training on manifesting your home, was open to everyone. You can catch that over on LaMeel TV on YouTube, and I'll put the link in the description. But so after listening, one of my clients sent a message, and she was like, I think I was mentioning energy vampires, right? Because whenever you're trying to do something, one of the lessons in manifesting your home is picking your energetic team. And so in the first training, I touch on, people who are going to support you, people who are going to take away from you and try to undermine what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So she sends me a message and she says, I think that I'm living with an energy vampire, and I wanted to know more. So I gave her a little bit of information, but I thought that this was a wonderful topic for LaMeel Radio, and it's something I can add to the course, because all of us, everyone, everywhere is probably experiencing and in contact with an energy vampire. And it's a real thing, okay? Like, they talk about energy vampires in Forbes magazine, in the Robb Report. They've talked about it on Oprah, Oprah.com, in the Oprah magazine. Like, it is something that is fairly well known. It is something that happens, so we all know that, everything is energy. And so everybody is taking on and using energy, because we are energy. So we're giving energy, we're receiving energy, and that's how things kind of exchange when we interact with people, right? So you're listening to this and you are receiving my energy and the energy that I'm putting behind it. And hopefully that energy is making you feel fucking amazing. And that's why you keep coming back. But in return, the energy that I get from you fuels me to say, oh, the people are getting value from what I'm doing. And so that fuels me to want to do more and to share more and to learn more on my own. And that's a really positive energy exchange. And not all energy exchanges are positive. So what is an energy vampire? Energy vampires are emotionally immature individuals who have a sense that the whole world kind of revolves around them. And they are really incapable of seeing things from another person's perspective. They often lack empathy. And they really believe that they have to take everything they can get from others, and that giving anything will deprive them of some essential resources. As if the whole world exists just to serve them, and you are you basically become like the latest object upon which they are going to exploit, right? So they're gonna, as long as you're around, they're gonna take from you, they're gonna take from you, they're gonna take from you, and giving to you, even when they actually do give to you, they make you feel really, really bad, because it really makes them feel bad. They really believe that giving to you and reciprocating whatever you've done for them leaves them in a physical, mental, emotional, financial state of lack, right? They are extremely emotionally immature. Excuse me. Wow. So something else is trying to come up and out, right? So at some point in our lives, we all may have even been emotional vampires ourselves. And I actually remember being one. I was really young and I had 2 kids and I was recently divorced. And I was looking at my life and I clearly was an emotional vampire, but I became one because of the story that I had written for myself. So the story that I would tell was that my life was so full of drama that I didn't watch soap operas because I guess back then a lot of people, who had kids who were home and had been housewives were watching soap operas, and I would go, "Oh no, my life is a soap opera. I have no need to watch them." And truly, I just didn't watch TV. But because that's the story I told, I then energetically, right, through the law of attraction, had to create the drama in my life because that was the story I was telling. So as I became more knowledgeable, I realized that I was creating this drama, and it was definitely some learned behavior because I have a family member that later on I've discovered is also an energy vampire and was the same type that I had created. So I was really more so mocking what I was seeing under my own terminology or on my own terms. So when I get to the point where I'm explaining to you the 6 different types of energy vampires, I'll let you know which one I was and how I kind of came out of that. But there are also times when people can be energy vampires temporarily or inherently, right? So sometimes I've lost a child, you go through a divorce, something tragic happens, and so you're really, really energetically needy at that time. And then you come out of it and then you're no longer that. Or you become spiritually aware like I did. And I was not always that. So I went through a period of time where I was not an energy vampire. I started telling the story and became one, became more knowledgeable and came out of it. So it was a temporary energy vampirism. I probably made that word up, but you get what I mean. So, and then there are some people who are inherently energy vampires. Like that's the way they were raised. That's the energy they were in. They were raised by vampires. They become a certain type of vampire that's usually mixed with the vampirism that they were raised with, combined with their own personality, and they're just fucking vampires. And the truth is, even if they were to get the knowledge, they may or may not want to stop because it serves them so well. And when you have been an energy vampire for 40 years or 50 years, you have to really do major paradigm shifts in your life to not be that. And some people are not willing to be that. You're also going to find people who have addictive personalities, right? So people who, smoke cigarettes, do drugs, and are alcoholics tend to be energy vampires as well because they are weak, right? Their will is weak. When you're addicted to anything, your will is weak. And so with your will being weak and progressively weakened through you engaging in whatever your addiction is, even those who are sex addicted. And typically, all of those things come hand in hand, right? You start smoking cigarettes, then they start drinking, and then there's some drug use, recreational, whether it's weed or other drugs, and then there's the sex part of it. And so, usually, all of those things are intertwined and are happening at once, and their will to fight it is so weak, and because they continue to engage in it, they become weaker and weaker. They need the energy of someone else to fill them up. So the very first thing that you want to identify, of course, it was whether or not you're an energy vampire, because you can change that. Okay. If you have people in your life that are exhausting the hell out of you, they're probably energy vampires. So if you've ever had an experience where you're around somebody and you feel like they are sucking the fucking life out of you just by spending time with them, they're probably an energy vampire. And I'm talking about you feel exhausted, you feel bored, you feel irritated, stressed, anxious, threatened, overwhelmed, depressed, even just after a few minutes of this person's company. Like I have somebody that I really cared about, and they would come over and I would just be like, oh my God, what am I going to do with myself? Like I remember the first time, and not with this person, but it was a different person. And it was a guy who I was dating, and he came to the house, and I'm sitting in the living room, and it's probably after like maybe 2 months of just dating. And I was like, you know what? You have to leave because you suck the fucking life out of me. I mean, he was devastated. And then he went and he hid in the room and he cried. And like he went through all of his energy vampire things. But at that point, I was so fucking exhausted. I was just like, get the fuck out. And I was like, what the hell was this? And that's when I kind of started researching. So, but although I was but because I was raised around energy vampires, there are times in your life where you think that's normal, right? So you get with someone who's an energy vampire and you think that's just how people are, and you try to adjust to it, and then you think there's something wrong with you. So it's not. And you don't have to live that way, and you don't have to fall victim to this person. Um, there's been many times where you may have felt guilty for having negative thoughts about a person, which kind of makes you feel worse, or you may even have thought that there was something wrong with you. Sometimes, oh, like you get a headache coming on, or you're just stressed and you blame it on work or something. Either way, you can't really explain why you're out of sorts, but you know that every time this person is around, and that's important when you start really working to get in alignment, right? um, that's when you're working to get into alignment, you start tracking how you're feeling, especially when you're around certain people, and you're able to identify, like, these people bring me down on the emotional scale, and it's because they are vampires. Sometimes you may be with a person and it's okay, and then that person leaves and you always feel sick, and you always feel, like, oh my God, it takes me like 2 fucking days to feel normal after I spent the weekend with you. That's because they're vampires. So I'm going to go through. My son is in here and he is making a lot of noise, but he can't hear because he has on these headphones. So he's totally unaware that he's talking in the background. So what we're going to do first is identify the 6 different types of energy vampires. And I'm going to walk you through what types they are and how you can kind of nurture your energy if you're forced to deal with them. Like sometimes you work with them or they're family members and you can't just cut them off completely, but ways that you can deal with them. If you can cut off an energy vampire completely, that is the best resolve, regardless of the type. Okay. Especially if it's an inherited, if they are inheritant, if they are, you know, vampires for life. Like that's just who they are, right? People who are temporary, you may want to support them because you love them. Sometimes you have friends who become extra dependent on you or way too dependent upon you because of a bad situation that they're going through. And those people you can usually wean off because they are being vampires unintentionally. Okay. Ultimately, in your own life, you have to become an alchemist. An alchemist is someone who can transform negative energy into positive energy. So there's 2 things that you want to learn how to do. One is to raise your vibration to love and above. When you can vibrate consistently at love or above, what happens is people who are energy vampires are not going to be attracted to you. They're not going to come around. And when they do, it's very temporary and you're not affected. When you have the ability to feel that negative energy and transmute it into positive energy. You can be around an energy vampire and still, again, never be affected. And that, you learn how to close off your energy, lock it, and not allow yourself to be penetrated by lower level immaturity bullshit. And I'm going to put a link to a YouTube video that I have over on LaMeel TV, and it shows you how to lock your energy, right? It also shows you how to know the truth. It's a video, I think it's called How to Know the Truth About Everything. And it shows you all about kinesiology and some other things. But in that video, it also shows you how you can strengthen yourself and your energy by utilizing these protective methods. So those are in the video, and the link um, is in the description for you. So let's go to the types of energy vampires. So the first energy vampire that I want to talk about is the victim or the martyr, right? And these prey off of your guilt. So the victims believe that they are at the mercy of the world and they suffer primarily due to other people. Like everything that happens to them is somebody else's fault and they have no responsibility whatsoever. So they don't take any self-responsibility for their lives. They continuously blame, they will manipulate and emotionally blackmail you and everyone in their lives because nothing is their fault.
Hey, what's up, my friend Calic and I here?
Nothing is their fault. And this is primarily due to the fact that they have extremely low self-esteem. Without always receiving a sign of like love and thanks and approval, they feel really unworthy and unacceptable. So they try to resolve this by making you feel guilty and then sucking away your sympathy and your empathy. That's how they feed. So I'm sure there are probably people in your life that make you feel guilty about everything. And if you have to tell them no, if you cannot do what they want you to do, like it's a whole freaking song and dance, and it's the end of the world, and they go into this whole woe is me scenario, and that is vampirism, right? It is the victim vampire. So how do you nurture your own energy when you're dealing with these type of people? So you've got to be aware of the self-pity cues, right? You need to see like, oh my God, they're starting to go into this. So for example, if the person has a tendency to blame another person for their suffering, or perhaps a description of how terrible their day has been, don't get involved in it. Limit your interaction with them as much as possible. If they are like, oh my God, I had such a terrible day, yada, yada, yada. Oh, okay. And find something else to do. Okay. Don't engage. That's the easiest thing to do, is not engage. And for all of the vampire, you're going to want to not engage. So number 2 is the narcissist. The narcissist vampire. I'm very familiar with the narcissist vampire. A narcissist vampire has no capacity to show empathy or genuine interest towards other people. Narcissist vampires typically don't have a lot of friends, stay to themselves, because they really don't have interest in anyone other than themselves. And when they show interest in you, it is because they are needing or wanting something. It's like that guy who kind of is a loner who only shows up and participates, when he's looking to get laid, and then he's back in his hole. or he needs something. And so then he'll participate because he thinks it's going to put him in a better position to do this, that, and the other. But it's always only about them. So they carry the unconscious philosophy of me first, you second. Therefore, the narcissist vampires will consistently expect for you to put them first, feed their egos, and do what they say. These type of vampires are going to always manipulate you with this false charm, right? They are probably excellent interviewers. They probably got a great smile, pretty eyes, that kind of thing. They know all the things to say up front and be like, "Oh my God, they're such a nice person. Oh my God, you're so interesting." They know a little bit about a lot of stuff and they act like they're really into stuff and really they're not. They're really not engaged. They probably rarely ever go out. Okay. And once they use their false charm to draw you in, it will just as quickly turn around. They will just as quickly turn around and they will stab you in the fucking back. And then because they are so narcissistic, they're going to stab you in the back and then say, "That's not really what I meant. I really meant good. I really didn't mean it. My intentions were good. You just got hurt in the crossfire." Right? Because everything is about them. They have no ability to feel any empathy for what they've put you through or what they've done. So you might feel a sense of extreme disempowerment as you're being crushed beneath their limelight. So how do you nourish this? These types of vampires, you just want to get them the fuck out of your life. But if you can't, and if you're unable to cut them off completely, then you're going to want to limit your contact. You can also show, like if it's a narcissist that you have to work with, then it might be worth your while to show this particular vampire how your request satisfies their self-interest. So for example, you might be interested in what I'm doing because ultimately, if we're a couple, I have the ability to make more money than you. And so if you support me, then eventually I'll be able to support you and you'll be free to do what you want to do. Or if you support my idea, then I'll let you take the lead on this and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So they're only looking at them first, what they need, what they want, how they feel. And they are a type of vampire that can be very, very damaging to you. Um, if you keep them around too long and if you are deeply and trenchantly engaged with them. So the next our number three vampire on the list is the dominator vampire. And dominator vampires love to feel superior. They act like alpha males or females, but the truth is that they're not. Okay. So due to their they're not, because the reality is that they have really deep insecurities of being weak and wrong. And they've been hurt really, really badly. So these dominator vampires must overcompensate by intimidating you. And often these dominator vampires are loudmouth types of people who have very rigid beliefs. Everything is black and white in the world. They're often racist, sexist, bigoted. They have double standards on anything. And they're just shitty people to be around. So the way that you nurture your own energy when you're around them is that you have to agree to disagree with them. Like, okay, I get what you're saying. I don't believe that, but I'm not going to engage with you anymore. And you have to limit your contact with them because they're going to try to dominate you. So you have to let them feel like they won and back away, right? So that you can get out of that energy field. Realize that their attempt to scare you is sourced from their own deep fear of being dominated and hurt. So they've probably come from a life where they were dominated. Their parents probably made them feel very, very small, insignificant, not worthy. And so the way that they get that worthiness back and that power back that was taken from them as a child is by dominating other people and then ciphering that energy. So Another vampire, one of the more, the dominator and the narcissist are probably the most detrimental, in my opinion, of the vampires. So the number 4 vampire we're going to talk about, and these are not in any particular order, but it's the melodramatic vampire. And this is one that I used to be. So these vampires thrive on creating problems. So remember when I was saying to you, like, I would be like, oh, I don't watch soap operas because my life is a soap opera. And really what I meant by that was that my life was full of, drama and problems and everything, even the smallest thing was so big. And people used to hover around me and be like, I can't wait to hear your story of what happened in your life today, right? And in recent years, when things have happened to me, I've found myself doing that again, and then I have to pull myself out of that because it's a learned behavior. Because I was raised by one who was very melodramatic. Everything was about, oh my God, don't do this to me. Why are you doing that? And it could be the smallest thing, but it was a huge thing for her. It was ridiculous. So they thrive on creating problems, and often their need to create constant drama is a product of a dark underlying emptiness in their lives. So these types of vampires also seek out crisis because it gives them a reason to feel victimized. And I remember people used to say to me, "Oh, you're always the victim." And I'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Well, because you're creating the drama and all of this happens to you and blah blah blah. And because I'm relatively, a good storyteller, people wanted to hear the drama and the story behind it all. And so I fed off of that energy. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to live the drama and the story. So fuck this. I don't watch soap operas because I don't do drama. That was my new story that took me out of the drama of it all. So these these vampires, they really do feel victimized, and they have a special need to they want to feel special, really, and they need to be loved. And so they tend to over exaggerate a sense of self-importance, and they do a lot of avoidance from their life's real issues. So another reason why these vampires enjoy creating drama is that the negative emotions that they're able to feed off of are very addictive, such as anger, right? So when people are angry, when people are like entrenched and whatever, they're really feeding off of that. But these people have a real emptiness in their lives, and they really, really are looking for love, and they are avoiding their real life issues. So, with this type of vampire, you could just refuse to take sides or even be involved in the drama. You want to um, kind of stop them from stirring the pot. Okay. So, nowadays they call it being messy, right? People who are real messy for no reason. Like they just need to get something going. They see somebody and they know these two people don't like each other, and then they may go, "Oh, she was here." Blah, 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 blah. They're being messy. These are melodramatic fucking vampires. They're looking to create something because as soon as this person that they're whispering to finds out that something happened that they don't agree with, they get angry. And then they're feeding off of that anger, right? So they're filling their emptiness with that anger. So pay attention to the patterns in their behavior and the triggers that make you want to get involved. Because the truth is, they're being messy. And if you get involved with them, you are being sucked into the drama. And who knows, you may then start creating your own drama because the drama can be addictive. So create distance and cut them out of your life if at all possible. But definitely, they are the type of people that you don't want to give too much information to. So if these are family members, like I have family members who are like this. And so if there's something negative happening or something that if I'm having any contrast in my life, these are people I do not talk to. And if I do come in contact with them during that time, I do not mention the contrast. Why? Because it's all they live for. And when they come to me and they discover there's no contrast, there's no gossip, there's no negativity there, they leave. They don't want to talk to me because they're looking to feed, period. So Number 5 is the judgmental vampire. And in all honesty, the first 4 vampires, sometimes you will have a little dash of judgmental vampirism in them, right? Because it kind of spills over with each one. So, due to the severity, though, like a judgmental vampire has one of the lowest possible self esteem or self worth um, of all of the vampires. And so they pick on other people. Their treatment of other people is merely a reflection of how they treat themselves and how they think and feel about themselves. Judgmental vampires enjoy preying on your insecurities, and this bolsters their egos by making you feel small and pathetic or shamed. So, anytime you've got somebody is whose intention is to make you feel pathetic or small or to shame you, that is the judgmental vampire. And a lot of times the two that I said are most detrimental, that narcissist and that dominating vampire will pull in some of that judgmental stuff, and boy, it's a 1-2 punch. Okay. So the way that you nurture your energy in that is that you remember that your true, you have to remember that your true self worth comes from within, not from what somebody else says. And usually the people that are judging you, their lives are so fucked up on so many levels. That's why they're out there judging other people. And because the smaller they can make you feel, the bigger that they feel. So you have to refuse to take whatever a judgmental vampire says personally, let it roll off your back. And imagine like whatever they're saying to you is really the truth is their truth, right? Because whatever a person does, whether they're a vampire or not, whatever a person does is a complete and total reflection of them. How you deal with it is about you. So, regardless of what a person says, what they do, how they do it, all of that is about them. People who have treated you like shit consistently, it's not because, oh, I'm not worth anything. It's really because that person is a piece of shit. They continue to do shitty things to you and the people around them because they are a piece of shit, not because the people who are trying to love them and be there for them are not worthy of love. They're a piece of shit. They don't know how. They're refusing to do the work to change. You see, and I say that they're a piece of shit. And what I'm really saying to you in that is that they are unwilling to do the work to be who they really are. And thus, they treat people like shit. And they're treating people like shit because that's how they feel. That's how they treat themselves. Their thoughts are full of shit. And that is what is projected. So when a judgmental vampire is saying something to you, understand that they're really saying that about themselves. Be aware that they have deeper pain, right? And they have a need to feel good about themselves. And the only way that they know how to feel good about themselves is to make someone else feel bad and then siphon that energy. When you get defensive with a judgmental vampire, you lose. My favorite thing for a judgmental vampire is, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It stores them up, and then they want to come harder. All right, whatever you say. And then when they go up another notch, total cutoff, because you have to keep a balanced head. And you can try being sweet to them, which is like what I do. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you showing me that. I appreciate you telling me that. That really throws them off balance. And you want to reduce your contact with these people and cut them off. Now, the last vampire is the innocent vampire, and I touched on that earlier. They're not really malicious, and as in the other cases, right? An innocent vampire sometimes can be helpless type of people, genuinely. Like they really need help in their situation. Sometimes their children are really good friends who have come to rely on you too much. It's good that you help those that you care about, but it's also important to encourage them to be self-sufficient and to set some boundaries. Um, and playing the role of the rock or support will eventually erode away your energy. So you're going to want to protect yourself and create boundaries even for your innocent vampires. You want to gently remind them that you need time for yourself. You need to do things for yourself, encourage them to move forward, develop their own strength, fortify them. Like sometimes there's kids who are kind of scared to leave the nest, like, younger kids who are kind of really clingy. They're really innocent vampires. And so by encouraging them and helping them build their self-esteem, you can kind of help them move on and away from you. So now that we know what an energy vampire is and how to identify them, their different 6 characteristics, what do you do to protect yourself? And like I said, I am going to put that link in the description for you to watch, because that's going to show you some energy shielding. The other things that you can do is go out into the sun, sunbathe. It doesn't matter what time of year it is, you want to sunbathe. Give me 1 second while I get me a sip of water. Okay, and being out in the sun, right? If you can't be, one of the things that I have is one of those natural light lamps that works really, really well for people who have like the seasonal deficit disorder. I have a real issue when it starts getting dark early and it's dark outside more than it's light. So that helps me a lot. Earthing. Earthing helps. If you've been around an energy vampire, earthing is when you take off your shoes and just go stand in the grass or go stand in the dirt. Or I love to walk on lava rocks. Those things help ground you. So you can definitely do that. Anything that grounds you. There are grounding essential oils. If you know about EFT tapping, that helps. The other thing is shaking. Shake your whole body. Shake your hands, right? Shake your body. Just shake, just shake it. Just shake everything. Shake it. If it helps you to, like I'm hitting like with my fingers lightly, not to where it's painful, but just tapping my hand, I'm breaking up the energy that has clung to me, right? So I'm just tapping my whole body with my fingers. Just tap everywhere in no set pattern. You're breaking up the energy around you. Cool showers will help take some of that energy off of you as well. And the last one, because I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So number 6 is your figure eights. So if you take your hand and draw a figure 8 in front of you, do it with both hands. I put my hands out to my sides and I draw figure 8s. I also, because I feel really good when I move my whole body, I use my hips. It's a belly dancing move as well. And I draw figure 8s with my hips, right? So they're, I don't know, I probably have to do a video that really explains that. But if you have a figure 8 and you turn it side, you'll turn it on its side to your hips. So one hip makes a circle. And so you're doing the cursive 8, not like 2 circles on top of each other. You're making the whole figure 8, right? The figure 8, not the 2 zeros. And do that all around your body, right? And that really creates a sense of calm. It creates a sense of peace. I like to burn sage and then burn Palo Santo. That clears out some negative energy. And if you are physically engaged with someone who is a vampire, you may have to do all of those things because, that's a real deep level of you letting down your guard and letting them really, really feed off of you. And if you are going to be engaged physically with a vampire, you need to learn how to block your energy because they can drain you in that process of being intimate to where it could take you days to get back to yourself. And you don't want that. Our goal here is to raise our energy and to live at a vibration of love or above. That is, what alignment, manifestation, and money is all about. You've got to live at a higher vibration. So why? Because everything that you're trying to manifest is at love or above. And you're going to, definitely catch some manifestations along the way. Don't get me wrong. But the goal is to be able to vibrate there and stay there. And all of a sudden, when you're there and you can stay there, your manifestations are like that. It's almost like it's instantaneous. And people that are vampires and people who want to curse you and, any of that, if they do exist, you don't even know they exist. They can't touch you because you're not on the same wavelength. You're not on the same frequency. I'll tell you a quick story before I go today. And that story is about frequency. So at one point in my life, had a stalker, female stalker, who had children, who also has children with my son's father. And she was very distraught over us having a baby. So she was probably the most negative I had ever experienced in my life to that point of a person. Like, I thought that people were, when I saw people depicted on television like this, that it was such an exaggeration of reality. And she let me know through her actions that there are people in the world who really are vibrating and behaving and thinking like this. It was mind-blowing. And it was very devastating for me for a while. But when I came out of that and I started to raise my vibration, I never heard from her. I didn't, I didn't have any issues, right? And even if something was sent, I wouldn't know it for so long that by the time I would see it or the time that I was affected by something she had done, it was so irrelevant because my vibration was high. And there were 2 times over a span of a few years where my vibration dropped really, really low. And no sooner did my vibration drop low was I on the frequency of this person who then appeared and started sending me messages and harassing me. And when I got control and was like, whoa, you're on a frequency where this chick can communicate with you, that was my sign to get the fuck up out of this and switch. And when my vibration raised, then all of a sudden she was a mute point, right? And then years later, there were 2 people very upset and my vibration dropped. And I was in a position and where they were able to actually reach out and communicate with me. And it was like, whoa, time to change my vibration. And I did. And, when I did that, I've never heard from them or seen them ever again. But the point is, even if I'm at a level, even if they are brought into my experience, I know I need to check my vibration. Like, they are definitely a checkpoint for me. Less and less now, but truly, there's going to be people like that. So right now, all the negative things in your life, like, those people are negative, and they're negative because of them, not because of something I did. How they behave is about them. It's not about me. However, the fact that their behavior can affect me is about me. So my responsibility is not to help this person mature emotionally. That's not my job. My job is to raise my vibration so that emotionally immature men and women are unable to communicate with me because we are not on the same frequency. And that's your job too. You don't have to understand them. You don't have to know the why they behave that way. You don't have to care. You don't have to be nice, right? What you have to do, because if you get caught up in the why, you're stuck. Why do you want to understand crazy? If you understand crazy, you become crazy. Just like in manifesting, the why is not your job. Okay? Getting out of the frequency of negative people is your job. Understanding why they're negative is not your job. People that you love who are energy vampires, it is not your job to de-vampire them. My crystals are falling all over the place. That's not your job. Your job is to get to a frequency where their vampirism does not affect you. That's it. There's nothing you can do about anybody else. You shouldn't want to, because when you do, you're not happy. Fixing other people will not make you happy. That's like saying, there's so many people who are suffering and who are broke. Maybe I should suffer and be broke so somebody has an opportunity to be rich. You suffering does not make room for someone else to not suffer. Right? There is plenty of room. We live in an abundance. Nobody has to suffer. Everybody is suffering based on their own vibration, their own decisions, and so on. Your job is to vibrate as high and as long as possible. And when you come out of that vibration and you experience some contrast, your job is to go, oh shit, I'm out. And guess what? I don't like this. And now I'm going to manifest something better. And just do that. Forgive yourself. Be okay with the fact that you've come out of alignment, because actually it is so delicious. When you first enter alignment, it's fucking awesome. And it's so amazing. And enjoying that first dive into like the warm pool of the vortex and high vibes is so amazing that even when you do get out of alignment, it's okay. Being out, you have to have contrast. You have to get out of alignment sometimes, because you have to experience things that help you determine what you do want and what you don't want. Right? If you never have any contrast, then how do you know what you want, what you like and what you don't like? You have to at some point eat some food you don't like to go, I don't want that, but I do want that, right? So you can't have only things you love, because then you wouldn't even know that you love them. Nothing to compare them to. Contrast is part of our experience. So I'm not saying that when you do this, you're never going to have any contrast. What I'm saying is that, like, my experience is that when these people were able to send me a message, when these people had the thought to contact me and I was in a position to receive it, it was because we were on the same frequency. I didn't like it, so I got the fuck off of that frequency. And now I know there's a certain level. My set point is higher now. So I know I'm not falling below that set point. Those people ain't never going to be able to contact me again. They might see me on TV, but guess what? Their negative energy and vibes are not going to affect me. As a matter of fact, them watching me on TV and hating on me is to my benefit. So that's what I'm saying to you. It's about your vibration, and screw everybody else's. So I hope that this has been beneficial, that you got some value from it, that these techniques will help you and keep you protected and help you keep your vibe locked and high, so that you can be in perfect alignment with what it is that you are manifesting. Thank you so much for listening to LaMeel Radio and our episode on energy vampires. Love you.
LaMeel Radio. Empowerment radio for women, by women.